Morning. Today we're going to be discussing a little bit of inventory and step 4. So we're going through the process of the 12 steps and processing the emotions so that they don't stay stuck in our body. Hold on, let me spotlight myself. There we go. So I have been thinking about it this morning and reviewing some of my books, and I wanted to present this to you guys in a way that doesn't overwhelm you and puts it in a perspective that you won't be mean to yourself in the process. And the reason I'm treading lightly is because most people, when they go into an inventory, it can become hypercritical or hypervigilant. And we want you to look at it with courage, that it's a time where when we avoid our feelings, then it just prolongs our pain. So when we have the courage to say, okay, I'm going to take a look at this and I'm going to release this and I'm going to be the best version of myself without expectation and allowing our higher power, whatever your version of higher power is, he or she, to make miracles in your life. So I wanted to share what I would call a recovery win for my life. And I would call it a miracle. So probably, my entire marriage, I've struggled with communication and with understanding just two people, two completely different upbringings, and we're two very traumatized people. And it just so happens that our traumas, our PTSD, chords on the guitar strum and trigger each other, which is just crazy. So something happened. We've been going to therapy for the last few months every week, and I've been working the steps for almost 2 years. And I just kept praying every day, God, I surrender. And I know that your will is, I just have to, it is too painful for me to try and control. So I will just every day surrender. And something happened. All of a sudden, my relationship is working. And I'm just shocked. I'm shocked. Yeah, it's been about 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, there's compassion and caring. And anyway, I just think it's amazing. And I want people to keep hope that the promises come true. In our 12-step program, there is a list of promises, and I just watch them come true. So anyway, I'm just real grateful for that. So anyway, because my sex life is really improving now. Sorry, Crystal, my sister's here. So I was going to read to you a little bit of step 4, and let's see. This is a book that one of my teachers and friend in recovery wrote. It's Yogic Tools for 12 Steps Workbook. And this is something that she says about step 4. The first 3 steps have grounded and prepared you for the journey of self-discovery. You are now ready to move into the first of the action steps. It is time to reaffirm your center, connect with your intention related to your recovery, and proceed. Refer to your first step and firmly visualize the behavior or substance you are now abstinent from. Recall the unmanageability and the dis-ease it has been causing your life and throughout your body. The 4th step is where you dig down and look back to the nature, the expression, the characteristics, and the processes that you became accustomed to in your active addiction. Fill in the blank. It could be addiction to controlling people like me, addiction to alcohol, could be food, anything. Only by investigation can you begin to make choices about how to participate in the changes that are needed in your life. And then there was the other thing I wanted to read. The fourth steps asks you to review your moral inventory, directing you to the practice of self-study, which let's see, it's called Svadhyaya. That's one of that's in Sanskrit, because this is a yoga book, which is one of the niyamas. Step 4 is also directing you to use materials outside yourself to make this evaluation. Read sacred texts, listen to others, go to houses of worship and recovery meetings. These can help lead you to learn more about what it means to become the best person you aspire to be. So I'm going to show you the patterns of codependency so that we can distinguish. I'm using the 12 steps, the CODA 12 steps, just because it's the most universal, I believe, because it applies to anybody. So I'll bring up that. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Where is it? Well, I guess I'll just go to desktop so that I can find it. Is it this one? Can you guys see that? Yeah, okay. So these are the patterns and characteristics of a codependent. So if I could get some reading volunteers. The reason we read them out loud is just so that when you hear them in your own voice, the frequency of your voice actually resonates so that your brain and your body will actually take it in.
I will read.
Thank you.
So we're going to start with denial patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Denial patterns. Codependents often have difficulty identifying what they are feeling, minimize, alter, or deny how they truly feel, perceive themselves as completely unselfish and dedicated to the well-being of others, lack empathy for the feelings and needs of others, label others with their negative traits, think they can take care of themselves without any help from others, mask pain in various ways, such as anger, humor, or isolation, express negativity or aggression in indirect and passive ways, do not recognize the unavailability of those people to whom they are attracted. Loth, oh, you wanted someone else to read?
Oh, you can keep going if you want.
Nice.
I can read if you guys want.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Take it away.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Low self-esteem patterns. Codependencies often have difficulty making decisions, judge what they think, say, or do harshly as never good enough, are embarrassed to receive recognition, praise, or gifts, value others' approval of their thinking, feelings, and behavior over their own, do not perceive themselves as lovable or worthwhile persons. Okay. Seek recognition and praise to overcome feeling less than, having difficulty admitting a mistake, need to appear to be right in the eyes of others, and may even lie to look good, are unable to identify or ask for what they need and want, perceive themselves as superior to others, look to others to provide their sense of safety, have a difficulty getting started, meeting deadlines and completing projects, have trouble setting healthy priorities and boundaries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you guys will, I don't know, every time I read this, my first reaction is to think of the people around me. I'm like, that's so this person. And then I start thinking, I'm like, no, Kim, don't do that. You're supposed to be reflecting. And then I'm like, oh yeah, all those. So anyway, but Chris, do you want to read one?
Sure. Compliance patterns. Codependents often are extremely loyal, remaining in harmful situations too long. Compromise own values and integrity to avoid rejection or anger. Put aside their own interest in order to do what others want. Hypervigilant regarding the feelings of others and take on those feelings. Are afraid to express their beliefs, opinions, and feelings when they differ in those of others. Accept sexual attention when they want love. Make decisions without regard to the consequences. Give up their truth to gain the approval of others to avoid change. Oh, I should read control patterns, right? That's me. Codependents often believe people are incapable of taking care of themselves. Attempt to convince others what to do, to think, do, or feel. Freely offer advice and direction without being asked. Become resentful when others decline their help or reject their advice. Lavish gifts and favors on those who want to influence. Use sexual attention to gain approval and acceptance. Have to feel needed in order to have a relationship with others. Demand that their needs be met by others. Use charm and charisma to convince others of their capacity to be caring and compassionate. Use blame and shame to exploit other emotions. Refuse to cooperate, compromise, or negotiate. Adopt an attitude of indifference, helplessness, authority, or rage to manipulate outcomes. Use recovery jargon in an attempt to control the behavior of others and pretend to agree with others to get what they want.
Yeah, I feel like that's mostly mine. That's like, so I have to be so careful because I know better than people. Okay. Avoidance patterns. You want to read this one? I can read it.
Okay.
Codependents often act in ways that invite others to reject, shame, or express anger toward them, judge harshly what others think, say, or do. Avoid emotional, physical, or sexual intimacy as a way to maintain distance. Allow addictions to people, places, and things to distract them from achieving intimacy in relationships. Use indirect or evasive communication to avoid conflict or confrontation. Diminish their capacity to have healthy relationships by declining to use the tools of recovery. Suppress their feelings or needs to avoid feeling vulnerable. Pull people toward them, but when others get close, push them away. Refuse to give up self-will to avoid surrendering to a power greater than themselves. Believe displays of emotion are a sign of weakness. Withhold expressions of appreciation. So I know these are all really hard to look at. And what is good about having this list is that when you go to write out an inventory, you can see where maybe you have some error, or you may see another pattern in a person who may have wronged you. So an inventory can be, I've heard it described as a wide tooth comb. The first time you do an inventory, because you basically do it once a year, you start with a wide tooth comb. So you're just getting through the main stuff. And then as you know, the next time you do it, you might have a little finer. And then the following, it gets a little finer. And then finally, the comb becomes kind of like that knit comb, the one to get lice out of your hair. So the first time you do it, don't feel like, oh, I have to do this like really in depth, because, you know, it's like, think of it like a chemical peel. You go for the chemical peel, but you don't want to burn your face off the first time. You go and it just takes a couple of layers off, and then, you know, a week goes by and it heals. So we're not looking to like completely like jar our whole life, you know? So here's, can you guys see this still? Sometimes the sharing changes. It should say the 4th step chart from the Coda book.
Yes.
Is that what it shows?
Mhm.
Okay, so this would be like an example of part of an inventory is I have like, it took 10 pages the first time I did my 4th step just on my husband. So you might have like a lot of pages you need for one person or an event in your life. So you look at the person and you're going to look at what was my behavior. So that would come from this list here. And then the feelings that drove that behavior. So it could have been abandonment. It could have been anger, sorrow, consequences to the person and myself. So how did that change the relationship? And then the feelings about the change in the relationship. So these are some examples and how I have integrated using essential oils and holistic tools like, yoga and breathing exercises and healthy thinking and reading good books and having good friends, is we need to have these tools at hand. We need to know what are the things that are going to support us in moving these emotions out of our body. The issues are in the tissues. Our body recorded what happened, and if we don't release it, it's just going to be stuck there. So like an example, if you've ever seen an animal die like right in front of you or on Animal Planet, you'll notice that the animated animal has tension. It holds it together, right? It's like when I do body work, so I touch people, I can feel where they are holding the tension. So that's who they are. If they died right in that moment, all of it would be gone, right? It's unanimated. So everything that's ever happened to you is in these little pockets around your body. So we're looking for ways to process it slowly so that we can release it and then come out clean, like it's like when you clean out your closet and you're so glad afterwards, you keep going in there and looking at it again. You're like, I'm so glad I did that. And maybe an hour later you go back and look, I'm so glad I did that. This is like how it's supposed to be, I'm not the only person that does that, right? After you clean up the kitchen, you're like, God, it looks good.
Right.
So that's the idea. And I can email this to you guys if you have it, if you don't have it. Otherwise, if you want the full book, it would be in the green 12 Steps and 12 Traditions workbook for Codependence Anonymous. And this is a great place for anybody to start, whether, any addiction they're working on in their life. Cause it's like the, what do you call it? An ice, what's it called? The frozen part, the Titanic hit it. Can't think of
An iceberg.
Yeah, an iceberg. So like people's symptoms of what's making their life unmanageable, it could be, codependency or addiction, is just the tip of the iceberg. Everything that happened to them, the trauma that led up to it, is underneath. And that's basically what a fourth step is looking for at what point was a part of you lost. And that's what recovery is we're recovering the parts of ourselves that are lost, so that we can create balance again. There was something very important that I wanted to share with you that I wish I would have had in my first fourth step, because that would have been really nice. So I am going to share that with you real quick. So I guess I'll go to desktop again, share. It is an author named Byron. What's her name? Byron Katie. Do you guys see that? It says meet your internal wisdom. Is that what it shows on the screen, Chris? Okay. So this lady teaches you how to journal so that you can write it down and then flip it on its head so that it changes your point of view. I know a lot of people have racing thoughts and we can get stuck in an emotion and a point of view, like, I'm right, they shouldn't have done that, blah, 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 whatever it is. And then she helps you turn it on its head. So I just felt like that was really interesting. Here is the worksheet that goes with it. Let me make sure you guys can see it. Does it say judge your neighbor worksheet? Okay.
Yes.
So you can use this during an inventory. So say, my poor mother, she comes up in so much of my recovery. Actually, I don't feel mad at her today at all. So, but if I were to use it as an instance, say I'm angry with my mother because, and then you would say what happened. In this situation, how do you want him or her to change? What do you want him or her to do? You write that down. Let's see, in this situation, what advice would you offer him or her? In order for you to be happy in the situation, what do you need him or her to think, say, feel, or do? What do you think of him or her in this situation? Make a list. It's okay to be petty and judgmental. Remember, this is for yourself. Now, this is the part that gets fun. Question each of your statements using the 4 questions of the work. Byron, why I can't remember her name right now. The lady that wrote this, her book and all of her worksheets, it's called The Work. So you're going to turn around the statement, replace the words I don't ever want with I am willing to and I look forward to. So example, Paul lied to me. Is it true? Yes or no? If no, move to question 3. Can you absolutely know that it's true? How do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? Who or what would you be without that thought? I lied. So if Paul lied to me, I lied to me. I lied to Paul. Paul didn't lie to me. Paul told me the truth. As you visualize the situation, contemplate how each turnaround is as true or truer. I felt like that was so interesting. Like if you change the story or the perception of what happened, it like takes the charge out of it, doesn't it? Anyway, I found it very interesting. This lady, I keep forgetting how to say her. I think it's because her last name sounds like her first name. That's what's throwing me. Byron Katie. Okay, she's got a podcast, and then she's got all these free worksheets on her website. So she's got all these downloads for us to use. So we don't necessarily have to buy a book. You just need a printer, or you can just look on the screen and write it on a piece of paper. So I felt that was something that I should share with you guys. So anyway, so my friend LaSharay is here, and she doesn't know, she hasn't been here before. So I'll just go over this real quick. Normally in our meetings, our group norms are when you share, try and say beforehand if you would like us to just listen, or if you'd like some feedback. And that's something that I try and maintain. And today it's a little special just because we're going through the 12 steps, and today is step 4. And I wanted to get this stuff to you guys. So I'm going to stop my share and then we can chat. If you guys have any comments on what I just talked about, or if you just had something, a recovery win you'd like to share, or what essential oils have been supporting you.
I definitely would like to share. The
Yes.
oils that have been supporting me this week are Slim and Sassy and Forgive. And when you were reading and you were sharing your win with your husband's relationship, you and your husband's relationship, that was really amazing to hear. And when you were reading the patterns and characteristics, I kept turning my camera off because I was like crying because it's kind of like sometimes when you hear things out loud, you're like, wow, that's what I'm doing. And I've been doing a lot of and I would love feedbacks if you have any feedback. But I'm just so proud of myself because I've been really doing some hard work with really getting in touch with myself. And I don't know if I shared, but when I went to a retreat a month ago, we did the exercise where we had to write everyone we need to forgive. And really, I'm kind of quick to forgive people. Even some of the things that have happened when I talk to people, they're like, oh my gosh, but I always blame me because I always feel like, okay, this happened, but I put myself in that situation, so then when we went to the activity where we had to say what, forgiving ourselves, man, I had a lot of stuff on there. So we had to write 2 letters, one to all the people that we needed to forgive, and then the other one to forgiving ourselves. And then we went out to the lake or wherever we were. We read it out loud. And then we took it to the fireplace and we burned it. And that's been like 5 or 6 weeks, but I'm still like noticing self-critical, unforgiving of me. Like that's the main thing. It's not other people, you know. And so even with you reading that, still the tears. It's just like, and I think what I was sharing, like what came to me when you were speaking about the relation with your husband, because that's what I do. I'm like, Father, please help me. Help me to surrender, you know, like in all these areas, even with being self-critical, you know, even today, you know, I have these standing meetings, but it's like, Shannon, you're important. Like, yeah, you can go to this meeting for your sister's company. And it's like, okay, I'm like, okay, well, it's been nice for 30 minutes, but I have a standing 12:30 meeting. Like, this is my time. Like, Shannon, you're important enough to do something you want to do. So, and I'm excited because I always miss the end of rooms because I think one of them is at like 11 o'clock and I have to get my time together. But I found a face-to-face meeting, you know, about 20 minutes from me. They meet face-to-face in Zoom. So tomorrow will be my first meeting with Coda. I've been about a year and a half ago virtually on Zoom, but this is going to be my first one, because when you were talking about like, it's nice like to have someone walking with you with this and all of that. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. So it's just such a process. Like, it's like the iceberg. Every time I get into this, it's so much more, but I'm just appreciating the process. And I'm just so grateful that I'm aware, because that's where I am right now. Right now, it's like the first step, like, wow, this is really something. So I'm just grateful to be here, and I thank you for this platform for us.
Yay. I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
Aren't we so grateful when we meet people that like you can see that they haven't done some of the work? And at first it's like, whoa, that was like, I see their behavior. And then you're like, I have to stop and go, okay, wait, it's just because they haven't been introduced yet. And then we get that moment of clarity of, wow, I'm so grateful of all the work I did, even though it was hard. I'm so grateful I'm not there now, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
The oil that has been working with me, I've been using this blend called Peaceful Child. doTERRA makes a blend called Peace. I think, do you have that one?
I do.
But in the old days before doTERRA had Peace, there was this lady that she had her son had not, what's it called? I'm having brain farts this morning.
Mhm.
It's where like the Ashburgers. The I forget what the spectrum of that is called.
Autistic?
Yeah, autism. So her son had autism, and so she created her own blend. It's called Peaceful Child, but it's really helpful to someone like me because I have ADHD and squirrel brain, and it's very grounding. So vetiver, frankincense, ylang ylang, marjoram, clary sage, and spearmint. And oh God, this smells good.
Hmm.
It's just, you know, you can tell what your body needs. Just like when you're picking what you're going to eat, you're like, what do I want right now? You know, in the winter, you want more like hot food and meat to keep your body warm. And then as the temperature changes, you start noticing, I want watermelon, I want cooling cucumber, I want strawberries. You know, your body will tell you. So the oils just, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, that one smells terrible. I'm like, oh, this one smells great. I try to listen to that. Anyone else have something they'd like to share? I know I talked a lot.
I feel like too, what Shannon said about the self-critical. I think that I'm real harsh on myself, and I like will forgive others quickly, but I like really hold on to it and dwell on it. It drives me crazy, like punishing myself. So, but yeah, I appreciate just being aware of that. And then like our last meeting when a participant was talking about the situation with her kids, and then Kim said like, oh, that's just who you are, like being too hard on yourself, you're just this enthusiastic person. And I thought, yeah, like I think I do that. Like, and so I've been thinking about it when normally something would irk me and be like, oh well, I would be real mad at myself about something, but like I should just let it go. So, you know, but it's interesting, like what you're saying about the work of it when you understand it, and then you can catch yourselves in those moments. It's good. It's a great learning experience. So yeah, I've been using a lot of that Abode, the essential oil, the cleaning one, or the one that all the cleaning products, but I like diffusing it. And whenever I use it, I feel really, makes me feel really happy. Like, but I think it's because I associate it with the clean. Because like when, like Kim was saying, like when your kitchen's clean and I use that Abode spray. And so then diffusing it in my room, it's like bringing it in that room. And so anyways, I'm like, I don't know. So I like that essential oil with it. So that's what I was going to share.
You want me to read the Abode? Okay, so this is the Essential Emotions book, and there's an app that goes with it as well. So you can read about each oil and what it does. And let's see. So Abode is the oil of accountability. Abode is a powerhouse of cleansing blend that works both emotionally and environmentally. When it's time to make serious changes and create movement in stagnant situations, this blend throws open the doors and clears the way. It calls individuals into self-examination and energetic accountability. It asks them to take an unflinching look at the areas of their life where they have stopped progressing and determine why. This blend will help inspire them with positive solutions and support them as they realign their course. Abode blend is adept at cutting through distractions and distortion. It helps individuals see where they have engaged in parasitic relationships, codependent behaviors, or succumb to lower energetic vibrations. It assists them in recognizing how they have contributed to unhealthy dynamics by remaining a victim or overcompensating with manipulating or control. This blend encourages them to release the accumulated toxicity and energetic debris thwarting their goals. It expands their vision and bolsters their resolve so they can recognize and reach for a more empowered way of living. Abode encourages individuals to take back the helm of their life, reject the path of least resistance, and reclaim their free will. It has lime, litsea, cassia, lemon eucalyptus, tea tree, arbor vitae, eucalyptus, cilantro, lavandin, which is a cousin of lavender, and lemon myrtle. Sounds like an amazing one. I should be using it.
Right. Like all the smells I like gravitate to, like the lime and eucalyptus and lemon, and it's like all the like really fresh smells.
I also pulled out 3 of those oils that were on that list this morning that are in that Abode blend. But I had made a throat chakra roller. I don't know, maybe last winter, but that was another roller that I grabbed, and it smells delicious. So if you're looking for opening communication in your throat, or you just love earthy smells, I used 10 drops of arbor vitae, which comes from the giant cedar tree in Canada. I used 10 drops of spearmint, and I used 10 drops of eucalyptus. So, and then I just filled it with fractionated coconut oil. That was my throat chakra blend, and it smells super good.
Can you share, you said arbor
vitae,
vitae, and eucalyptus, and what was the last one?
spearmint.
Spearmint. Thank you.
Yeah, it smells really, really good. Yeah, and other times, like I said, I picked it up and my body went bleh. But today it's like, yes, that one. So Let's into it. Well, you guys, I know this is a heavy topic, and I'm so glad that you're willing to do this journey with me. Super grateful for having this space, this safe place to come and chat and you know, have radical honesty. So about that, you know, it's funny how we think that we're done with chastising ourselves, and then it comes up in a new way, a sneakier way. I had a sneaky shame spiral, and it came in the way of expectations. Just, you know, I guess I am a crazy perfectionist, which doesn't look like what you normally would think. It comes out in the way that it makes me not do things. So it looks like procrastination. So, but that's because I am so afraid of it not being perfect. And I had to let go of that showing up for you guys doesn't mean I have to be perfect. It means that I am willing, you know? So, yeah, it's just really weird. Because nobody would ever call me a perfectionist if they knew me. But
I
I
had a funny comment about that, the worksheet that you were reading for us, the one about like to flip it on his head. I was reading the examples she put underneath about Paul, and I was really like, Paul's a jerk. And then at the end, when you're like, maybe I lied to Paul or whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, poor Paul. he just doesn't know.
just doesn't know. It's our expectations of people. It's crazy. Like, oh, what was weird? I have one of the people in my life, she's a colleague, and she's a little bit weird about money. She doesn't ask for money, but when she does, it's like an astronomical amount. And I'm like, whoa, but you didn't say this whole time, and now it's this really high number. So she does that to me, and in my expectation of her is that she would be more honest. And it's just, I was raised differently. I have very high integrity. Things need to be high integrity. And so when I find that someone else's behavior doesn't match my expectation of that, I'm very offended.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh man. So I just have to like stop and be like, well, she wasn't raised like I was raised. And I don't have to judge that. Before I would have said she was raised by wolves. What is this lady? You know? But it's just, she just isn't the same as me. So I don't know if you guys have a thought on that, but that being okay with that with myself, that like I was mad, but I don't have to stay mad
Mm.
because it's really not worth it. It's just not worth it. If I stay mad, nobody cares. It
It's
just affects.
interesting. It's interesting when you say she wasn't raised with you, and I think about how I was raised with all my siblings, and the way we process things and deal with things is so different. And I'm like, we were raised in the same house. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So that's another way of looking at it. You know, like this sister and I, we have one other sister. She has completely different point of view, and it's very hard for us to interact because it's just so different. So, you know, I just have to let it go.
Mhm.
It's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna change anything about the other person, me being upset. So I need to do those worksheets from that lady. But the positive thing about, I don't know, this is something that I do when I come into this and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the teacher. I'm going to share. And then I remember, no, I still have a lot of problems. And the good thing about me still having a lot of problems and still working on it is progress, not perfection, is I still am having aha moments and I get to share that, and it may help another person. So yeah, I can't ever be perfect, and I'm okay
I
with it.
did have a question. I did have a question about that because, you know, a lot of times throughout my journey of getting coaching and doing all these things. It's so funny to me because people see me as being peaceful or whatever it is. So even when I'm the client, the person is like, how do you do that? How are you peaceful? Like, I remember one time I was going to a therapist and something happened to her son, and I think I bought her a essential oil thing because she seemed stressed out, and it's I was wondering about that because I'm thinking these are the professional people, but they're trying to be professional, but they also so I guess my question was kind of like, it just seems like taking life one day at a time. Like, and I know one of my mentors says like done is better than perfect, so it's kind of, because at first I was thinking, okay, on this day I'm gonna have everything ready. I'm gonna have everything done. Once I do this, but it never happens. And I'm like wondering, is that just like life? Like, is it just about enjoying life and flowing instead of having balance? Some people call it a rhythm, just finding your rhythm in life every day. I mean, I wonder, you
Yeah,
know,
I know. It is really hard to get things done when you're trying to stay in balance. And I had judged myself harshly on that like during this time in my life, I have to keep balance because if I don't, I will end up in a lot of pain.
mm,
But there are times in my life where I have more energy and I'm like, I better take advantage of this. So what am I going to let go of today that I normally would have done? Like I won't be able to keep the house clean today so that I can get my work done. Or maybe I won't get my work done today because I'm going to clean the house. Like I can't do both.
mm.
It's just as impossible. And I have physical limitations. So, yeah, I just, like a hairstylist, you want their hair to look good. Like you're going to go to a hairstylist with good hair. Or like if you're going to go to a personal trainer, you want them to be fit. But sometimes the better one is fat. Maybe they used to be fit.
That's interesting.
I don't know. I'm just joking. So, all right. Well, I'm really glad that we did this, you guys. And let me know if you have some questions. And I'm just happy that we can have this safe space. And we're going to be continuing on with the steps. They're a review, their discussion. You still will need a worksheet book if you're doing them on your own. I highly recommend having a sponsor if it's AA or NA. Otherwise, if it's with Codependence Anonymous, you can attend meetings and find a step group. So, yeah.
I
Anyway,
have a question on your Yajic. Yeah, Yajic tools. It sounds funny to say.
Mhm.
I was looking at it on Amazon, and I don't think it looks like your. Well, okay, so it's like a blue, white.
oh, the yogic tools.
Yeah.
It's her name, she's one of them yoga people. So you know how the yoga people like, they change their name. This is what I feel like happened because I don't think that her parents named her this. It's I can't say it right now. It's
Is it Sitchi
KY
Hawk? Is it Sitchi Hawk?
Kixie. Kixie.
Sometimes those consonants turn into a
That's what
different
it is.
sound.
Kitski hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this color. It looks like this.
So there's a guide to working the 12 steps, and then there's a workbook.
I have
Oh
the,
yeah, that's what
I have the workbook. This one is good. And then but if you don't have do you have the green one? Because I like the green
I
one.
do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, the green one is good.
So I noticed that when you were referring to certain pages in that green book, you kind of just pulled the pages that for the items that we wanted to address that day. So would you suggest you start on page 1 and go through?
Yeah, I mean, I'm only using snippets because there's not enough time, on the meetings. I'm just sharing the most pertinent, but better to start, from the beginning. But this also is important to have, obviously. And I'm just showing it for the recording because I know you guys have the book. But yeah. Anyway, another one, I don't know if you guys, some people have, there's an app that goes with this, but this is the hardback of the Essential Life book. And I like the app that goes with this because then you can look up the physical ailments and the protocols, and it gives exact drops and recipes. Because not everybody can be like me, where I'm a, Carmen Sandiego dictionary in my head with the essential oils. But it is nice to have some recipes already in here. So anyway, but next week we're going to be talking about step 5. And step 5 is where we're going to share our inventory with someone else. And then that would be like what you did at the retreat, Shannon, where you
Yeah.
say it out loud and they burn it.
Mhm.
And then step 6 is releasing the all of those patterns. It's saying to God, or your version of God, to please remove these defects of character and shortcomings. So anyway, I'm looking forward to it, you guys. So if you want those, I can put the link here. I'll write it in the chat right here. Chat. That lady, Byron Katie, is called thework.com, and she's got the worksheets on her website, and she does have a podcast. And I think that listening to that and using those worksheets where you take those resentments and flip them on their head, and journaling is going to be very powerful and healing, so that it's not such a painful inventory. And my first reaction in seeing her work, because early in my relationship with my husband, he found all my notebooks and read them.
Oh.
So then after that, I never journaled again. So that was 15 years ago. And looking at her work, it kind of made me feel like, oh, I could do this safely. Like I could journal again. I can get get the pen moving. So anyway, I appreciate you guys all. And I hope you have a beautiful day, and we'll see you next Monday.
See you then.